Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint by Sing Shong. Chapter 199. Fake Revolutionary. Part 1. Someone has made a revolutionary declaration. Among the many scenarios in the demon world, the status of the revolutionary scenario was large. The only existence that could threaten the Duke sitting at the highest points of the industrial complex. A revolutionary. This existence was the hope and legend of the citizens. At the same time, it was also despair. That's why the moment I spoke, countless people around me held their breaths. Their faces wondered if they had heard correctly. Why are you so startled? Weren't you looking for the revolutionary? My shameless words caused the confusion on people's faces to become consternation. At the same time, there was a message that only I could hear. You aren't a revolutionary. It was an obvious message. Right now, I was an exile who was outside the scenario. I couldn't be the revolutionary, who was the backbone of the main scenario of the demon world, when I didn't even have a scenario in the first place. It was originally supposed to be like this. Your declaration has affected the main scenario of the Siswitz industrial complex. As you know, the most important thing in the star stream was the probability. A revolutionary? The thick chains covering the scythe were revealed. The executioner took one step forward and I couldn't help feeling nervous. Honestly, I currently had no way of killing the executioner. Nevertheless, I didn't back down. I had to do it here. Yes, I am a revolutionary. Why did you reveal yourself? If I stay back, someone else will die. Jang Haeung and the other citizens were staring at me with wide-open mouths. I waited nervously as I watched the incoming executioner. It was time for the effect to appear. Many citizens admire your courage. That's it. Your noble courage affects the development of the scenario. You have caused a big influence on the scenario. The scenario will temporarily assign you a status. You have become a self-proclaimed revolutionary. If an existing revolutionary dies, you will be given the position. This was a stepping stone for me to enter the scenario. The hidden scenario, self-proclaimed revolutionary, has been acquired. It was the first time that a scenario acquisition message was so welcome. It might be a hidden scenario and not a main scenario, but it was sufficient for the moment. The hidden scenario of the 73rd Demon Realm. It was a secret I wouldn't have known if it wasn't for you Jonghyuk's countless failures. You. Wait. Are you really a revolutionary? Hey. The people were unable to control their fear and cried out. However, the timing wasn't good. Finally, the executioner started to move. Black smoke emerged from the executioner's mouth and wound itself around my body. The Siswitz executioner has placed a mark of death on you. You have been identified as the scapegoat of the night. People saw the mark appear around me and shouted, "Get out of the way!" Wayawa. The fragments of the broken table scattered in the air and the scythe of the executioner cut the space in front of it. I dodged the scythe by a hair's breadth. It would have been difficult to avoid if my body wasn't repaired, but now the story was different. The exile penalty is slightly alleviated. There was a warmth in every breath that I let out. There was a mild aura around my body and the chill was gone. I dodged a series of moves from the executioner. Indeed, the difference between having a scenario and not having a scenario was great. It might be a hidden scenario, but the presence of a story changed the liveliness of my existence. Revolutionary? The executioner was a bit surprised by my movements and his momentum changed. The space has temporarily been closed. You can't escape from the pub. I smiled bitterly. This was why numerous powerful people couldn't resist the executioner. There was no way to escape from the executioner in the industrial complex. Was that all? Dodge, you idiot. As Jang Haeung shouted, energy was fired from the executioner's scythe. No citizen of the industrial complex can resist the executioner. The execution will take place. His special skill execution ignored the defense of the opponent and death a fatal blow. No matter how strong the citizens, they could never endure one blow from the executioner's scythe. The executioner's scythe was just about to cut through my body. In my hand, Blade of Faith cried out violently. "I'm sorry, but I'm not a citizen." Magic power emerged from the heart of the gold dragon and the white pure star energy wrapped around my fingertips. "I told you. I am a revolutionary." Well, I was still a self-proclaimed one. The dazzling white-blue energy collided with the executioner's scythe and tremendous sparks occurred. In the midst of these gorgeous effects, a message was heard. "You aren't a main scenario participant. You aren't a citizen. You are an exile. You are affected by the execution effect of the scenario." As expected, I knew it. The effect of execution is neutralized. The moment I blocked the blow from the scythe, the surrounding incarnations shouted, "He blocked a blow from the executioner. Is he really a revolutionary?" Those who didn't know my identity were watching this situation with eyes full of distrust. "Your scenario contribution has increased." The executioner misunderstood me, and energy burst from his body. Insolent. I talked as if to provoke him. "Don't play around. I know you are only strong at night." "What? Once this night is over, you will surely die." I spoke while twisted unbroken faith in my hand. "I will surely kill you." The scythe flooded towards me dozens of times. The executioner wasn't weak just because execution didn't work. It would just take him a longer time to dispose of me. Thus, it was too early to say that the situation was better. "I can't protect everyone, so leave here." Everyone other than me could escape this place, because they didn't receive the effect of the mark. Among those running out of the pub, I saw Jang Han turning to look back at me. I quickly glanced at him, before using bookmark. Selecting the fourth bookmark, Lycaean Isperang. The exclusive skill, Way of the Wind LV10+1, is activated. It would be easier to win if I used the fifth bookmark, Kyrios, but winning this fight wasn't my goal in the first place. No, I couldn't win. The target isn't affected by your attack. No one can kill the executioner until the night is over. My blade slashed at his collar, but this was the only message I received in return. His execution didn't affect me, but my attacks couldn't hurt him while it was night. I had to change the plan. The surrounding pub area was ruined and the power of the wind started to surge. The dozens of scythe shadows flying through the air became stuck as the wind blew. On the other hand, my movements became more active. The balance of speed was breaking. His movements were always slower than me, and I was always one step faster than him. This was the essence of Way of the Wind that had reached its limit. It was a force that controlled all acceleration in the space. "You are slow like a slug? Ku-a-a-a-ah." The scythe of the angry executioner started to randomly move through the air. Normally, I wouldn't be hit by such attacks. However, the goddess of luck from Olympus laughed at me, and one scythe accidentally entered the range. Ick. The moment the unexpected blow was about to strike me in the side, my right arm suddenly twisted into a strange shape and I blocked it. The talent of the sword master that sits in your right arm is shining. I was surprised as well. I didn't think the fragments of the story worked in this way. The user of the incomplete story has made your body's status unstable. Your stories might be at risk if you continue fighting excessively. I bit my lips. The coldness was once again coming back. I had acquired a hidden scenario, but I couldn't use excessive force to deal with the executioner. I shouldn't continue fighting against it. I had to buy time while avoiding it as much as possible. At least until this damn night was over. You will DE. I didn't respond and kept using Way of the Wind. It would have been nice if Yu Jonghyuk was here. If I had the help of a transcendent, then I could easily endure this long night. However, no one was here. Judge of Destruction, Young Hee-won. Steel Sword Lee Hyun-sung. Maritime Admiral Lee Jae-hai. My lovely kids, Lee Gil-young and Shin Yu-sung. Han Soo-young, well, she wouldn't have helped if she was here. Here, I was alone. I believed in the information I knew and the stories I had built up. Myself as well. There were screams from the nervous people as the executioner's movements started to become slightly dull. I started mocking him. "What, are you tired?" I knew an invincible person like this would never feel exhaustion. It was more annoyance than exhaustion. My words were actually to hide my condition. Bookmark's duration is about to expire. The time that I could use Way of the Wind was 30 minutes at most. In the first place, Bookmark wasn't a skill that could last a long time. By the way, the executioner was laughing. There was a creepy sound effect and dozens of executioners appeared. The most terrible thing about the night was that there wasn't one executioner. All executioners in the Siswitz industrial complex gathered in this small pub and stared at me. "Your mistake." He deliberately consumed time while collecting his colleagues. It was to definitely kill me during this night. I watched the movements of the executioners surrounding me and modified my posture. This was unavoidable. It was impossible to run away from them even if I used Way of the Wind. "No, you are the one who made a mistake." However, 30 minutes was enough to achieve my goal. I watched the incoming scythes and opened my arms. Numerous scythes broke through the air towards my body. Some incarnations closed their eyes and sighed bitterly. This soon turned to cries of surprise. The scythes that should have surely pierced me and torn me apart. The scythes stopped in the air. "WH at?" The confused executioners looked at the weapons in the air with stupid eyes. I suddenly recalled a sentence from Ways of Survival. There are 2 ways to withstand night in the industrial complex. One is to run away from the executioners until the end of the night. And the other one? Have you forgotten? There isn't only the evolutionary and executioner in this scenario. This was followed by a message in my ears. Someone is using their vitality to protect you. The second way to survive the night is with the help of the Guardian. As expected. I thought this would lead to the hidden Guardian coming out. Aileen said that even the council members didn't know who the revolutionary was. This meant that other incarnations didn't know the identity of the revolutionary. In other words, they couldn't protect the revolutionary when they didn't know the revolutionary. Yet what if I declared myself the revolutionary? The Guardian was successful and the Mark of Death has been released. The executioner could only use the Mark of Death once in one night. The mark had been released, so today's execution was over. The executioner spoke in a bloodthirsty voice. "Your luck is go, OD. You better be careful. Next time we meet, it will be daytime." The executioners gritted their teeth and scattered one by one. The dreary sound of the flutes disappeared and the darkness went out like a tide. Outside the pub, the incarnations were staring inside with passionate eyes. The arrogant Jang Haeung was glancing this way with shocked eyes. I wondered if I should say something before eventually shrugging and waving my hand. A new revolutionary. A new revolutionary has appeared. Along with the citizens' shouts, the short night was finally over. I looked at the citizens and had a thought. One of them would be a guardian. The future scenarios must be performed with the guardian. I looked up at the sky and it was still dark. I sometimes saw a few stars, but they were so dim I couldn't see them properly. Uriel, the great sage, the equal of heaven. It would have been nice if those guys were watching, but unfortunately, there was no message. Still, I should be satisfied with today. No one died tonight. Chapter 200. Fake Revolutionary. Part 2. Duke Siswitz's office. The demon Earl Salak was standing in front of it with an anxious heart. It was because the Earl Han was guarding the office like a gatekeeper. Han. No one knew what his real name was. Everyone just called him Han. He was an earl like Salak, but he was a very unusual fellow. It was because he was in touch with Asmodeus of the 32nd Demon Realm. Maybe Duke Siswitz kept him around because he was aware of this fact. Salak felt inwardly strained and finally opened his mouth. "I have something to say to the Duke." "Tell me." I will let him know. It is difficult. The Duke is currently in an emergency meeting with the Jillabat envoy. When will it finish? I don't know. Salak clicked his tongue. If he told this guy, Han would clearly take all the credit. Thus, Salak replied, "It's fine. It isn't urgent, so I will wait." Han's eyebrows twitched at the words. Salak liked seeing this expression. Son of a bitch, keep wondering. The information that Salak reported was simple. A civilian presumed to be a Marquis of Jillabat has appeared in public. Of course, it wasn't bad to say this, but the more he thought about it, the stranger things seemed. Salak thought for a moment before staring closely at the Duke's office. Is a Marquis from Jillabat inside there? Yes. He must have come straight here, without going anywhere else. That is the case. Salak felt delighted at the reply. Indeed, my guess is correct. He didn't know for certain, but there shouldn't be two Marquis in the Jillabat delegation. A Marquis grade should be the leader of the delegation. It was very likely that the citizen he met wasn't a Marquis of Jillabat and was pretending to be a demon noble. This alone was worth reporting. It might not be big, but it would help with his performance review. Han saw the hesitating Salak and opened his mouth. Since you are wandering around, you must also be wondering who the next Demon King will be. Well. That's right. It was a misunderstanding, but it wasn't a bad idea to ask about this misunderstanding. Is it because of the rumors of the Demon King emerging that the Jillabat delegation came to visit? I can't tell you more, but it is similar. The story of the Demon King, it is a bit funny, don't you think so? The source of the rumors was unknown, yet these rumors shook the entire 73rd Demon Realm. Salak inwardly found this situation laughable. Siswitz. Jillabat. Meladin. Burkan. For the past few hundred years, the 73rd Demon Realm had been properly balanced by these four dukes. The peace that had been maintained for hundreds of years was now shaking because of a rumor. It was a story without any realism. However, Han didn't agree with Salak's words. The signs of the Demon King are already appearing. What? How do you know that? I heard that Vedas has joined hands with the Meladin Industrial Complex. Vedas? It was a name that Salak was familiar with. No, it would be strange if he didn't know it. It was one of the names that must be known in order to safely live in the star stream. Thus, Salak couldn't help feeling astonished. The nebulae are moving directly? To be precise, one of the narrative-grade constellations from Vedas has been in contact with Meladin. The constellations and Demon King's enmity was famous in the star stream. Now the constellations were interfering with the affairs of the 73rd Demon Realm. The scale wasn't big, but things would spiral out of control if it was really a nebula. The nebulae are interested. Does this mean the Demon King will really appear? Salak muttered with a slightly dazed expression. This was a Demon King. Salak had been living in the Demon Realm for a long time and it didn't really sink in. However, at least one thing was known. This is why the Duke is so busy. He is currently the closest person to becoming the Demon King. It was clear that one of the Demon Nobles would become the Demon King. Look at the cases of the other 72 Demon Kings. It was extremely rare for a non-demonic existence to ascend to the throne. Then there was a light warning sound from the factory and a message came up. A new main scenario has opened. The 24th revolutionary game has begun. Salak was startled by the sudden message, but he pretended to be calm when he saw Han's surprised expression. Han asked first. What is this message about? Oh, you don't know since you're new here. This sometimes happens. It is the main scenario here. The revolutionary game. The revolutionary game? He was probably caught by the executioner while hiding. He is an unlucky person. The revolutionary game starting meant that the hidden revolutionary had appeared. However, there couldn't be a revolutionary in this industrial complex. Everyone clearly remembered what happened when the last revolutionary appeared 30 years ago. Salak smiled and added, "Don't worry, it isn't a big deal. Wait a bit and the executioner will take his neck. It will be a fun spectacle." Still, no matter how long he waited, the message announcing the end of the game wasn't heard. He was just thinking that something was strong when a low-grade noble appeared. Salak immediately recognized who he was. It was because he was one of the hidden executioners. He rushed towards the office, and Salak asked first, "What is going on?" "Someone has declared that they are a revolutionary." Salak knew it was a stupid question, but he couldn't help wondering, what? Who? "It is a new revolutionary." "Then what is his name?" The low-grade noble stuttered out a name. It was a name Salak didn't know. Unexpected, the bored-looking Han opened his mouth. "Wait, what did you just say?" "Yes, it was definitely Yu Jonghyuk." "He called himself Yu Jonghyuk?" Salak hurriedly asked. "Do you know him?" "I know." Han's expression shone brightly, but it was a somewhat warped smile. Even the demon Salak felt creeped out. Han asked, "Where did he show up?" "Night ended and I was called back to Aileen. To be exact, I was almost dragged back. The streets were almost completely turned upside down because of my declaration. A new revolutionary has appeared." The streets were loud with these words. If Aileen hadn't popped up and dragged me away, I would still be sandwiched between the citizens. As Aileen was unable to control her emotions, I checked the information of the hidden scenario with a nonchalant mind. Plus. Hidden scenario, fake revolutionary, category, hidden. Difficulty level, SS. Clear conditions, you have become a self-proclaimed revolutionary by impersonating a revolutionary. Kill a real revolutionary within the given time and take their position. Otherwise, it will be a terrible ending. Time limit, 30 days. Compensation, 150,000 coins, entering a new main scenario. Failure, death. Plus. I roughly knew how to get the main scenario. In any case, I had to find the real revolutionary. I glanced at Aileen and said, "Then let's get started." "Are you crazy?" Aileen asked with an absurd expression. "Do you know what you are doing?" "A revolution." "What revolution without a revolutionary?" "You're a fake." "Really?" "There is no way, don't tell me." She had a cute expression on her face. I shrugged lightly and Eileen's face filled with despair. "Of course not." "What the hell are you doing?" "Now it is all over." I shamelessly replied, "This is what you wanted. A revolution and the death of the Duke. I didn't want it this way. This is a scam." "How is a real revolution a scam?" "I will make it real. A revolution isn't such a joke." "I agree with you. I didn't declare that I am a revolutionary lightly. I agree that this industrial complex should be liberated. The fact that you can say it so easily is proof that your will is light." Eileen's voice contained deep rage. "Do you intend to do the revolution alone? I have seen many revolutions in this industrial complex. How many revolutions have failed and how much blood has been shed? And don't regard past failures as scriptures. There will be no change if you don't do anything. It is a scenario you can't do in the first place." I understood Eileen's feelings. In fact, the revolutionary scenario was a famous one in the industrial complex. The only rebellion protocol allowed by the scenario. Even so, the citizens of the industrial complex abandoned this game a long time ago. It was because there was no chance of winning. Thanks to this, the scenario lost its value as a scenario. Aileen continued, "This is why I've been relying on exiles. The Duke can never be killed using existing scenarios. There is no way to win against the damn executioners, let alone the Duke. The scenario is made to be broken. There is a way to clear it if we look carefully. People are going to die because of you. I won't let that happen. Then you'll be the first to die. I won't die. I didn't die before. This." Aileen bit her lips. "That was just luck. Do you think the Guardian will protect you again? Well, I think they will protect me. You don't know, but the Guardian will exhaust their vitality after using their protection. Every time they use it, they lose vitality and will eventually die. No one will protect you 2 or 3 times. The first time is the most important. Aileen, you know this place better than me, but you don't understand the people here. Aileen was about to say something only to tightly close her lips for the first time. Perhaps Aileen had also felt something. The hidden Guardian had appeared and protected me, a revolutionary. It was probably a sight that Aileen hadn't seen for a long time. It was really a long time. Aileen licked her lips for a long time before speaking in a small voice. Do you really think it is possible? It is possible. Haven't you seen enough of my skills? It would be possible. I would make the impossible possible. Aileen replied with a sigh, you aren't a real revolutionary. That's why I need your help. Aileen's expression shook at my words. Let's make a revolution without a revolutionary. Aileen made a decision and replied, you have to collect the positions. This is a game that you can't win alone. I guess so. A Guardian is the minimum condition for survival. You also need a fighter to deal with the executioner and a spy to find the hidden executioners. Collect them one by one. Those positions won't be as far away as you think. I didn't fret. The revolutionary declaration was already ringing, so those in charge of their positions would realize it one by one. They would have to figure out what side to take in this damn game. I think one position has already been collected. As soon as I spoke, the door of the meeting room opened with a bang. Jang Haeyoung was looking this way with wide eyes. That, Aileen, what? Someone is asking to enter. I'm busy right now. Send them away. That, it is a bit. Why? A person claiming to be the Guardian has come. The surprised Aileen rose from her seat. Then behind Jang Haeyoung, a middle-aged man with a steady build appeared. Are you really the revolutionary? Surprisingly, it was a face I already knew. Chapter 201. Fake Revolutionary. Part 3. The door opened and a middle-aged man appeared. His hair was white and he wore a dirty apron. The faint scar on his cheek was the only sign of strength that could be found on the man's face. He didn't seem like a person who would be a Guardian. Aileen looked incredulously at the man and hesitantly sat back down. You are a Guardian? Yes. Really? I was worried you would react like this. Aileen glanced at me after hearing the middle-aged man's words. I smiled at Aileen. I told you. They will be around us. However, to be this close. The Guardian was the pub owner who previously made the side dishes for me. Of course, I guessed from the beginning that he was the Guardian. He was very similar to the Guardian who appeared in Ways of Survival. I also knew that he would save me. If I didn't know this, I wouldn't have declared myself a revolutionary. Aileen asked, why did you keep quiet until now? If you are really the Guardian, you've had many chances to save people. I had to save my points. You know that a Guardian can only save people a total of 5 times. I know, but if you didn't use all 5 times. If I had saved someone else, the pub owner glanced at me before continuing. The revolutionary would be dead. You sound certain that the revolutionary would appear. I have always been waiting. Not everyone gave up like you. Are you saying that to me? The atmosphere seemed to be heating up and Jang Haeyoung quickly interrupted. Now Aileen, pub owner. Let's stop fighting and think about things going forward. Isn't it good for us if the Guardian shows up? I admired his skillful method of changing the topic. Jang Haeyoung was one of the most extraordinary people in Ways of Survival. He was a foul-mouthed person who desired to stay here, but he was originally an excellent mediator who understood the hearts of people better than anyone else. Jang Haeyoung coughed and tapped on the shoulder of the pub owner. At any rate, I am surprised. I thought you were only good at cooking. Honestly, couldn't you have given us a clue? A good chef often has many secrets. Speaking of the revolutionary, how did you like my cooking earlier? Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to eat it. Someone else ate all of it. Jang Haeyoung stared at me with wide eyes, and the pub owner chuckled. Aileen poured cold water on the atmosphere that had barely improved. You guys are laughing like you're already colleagues. Don't you know? The game has already begun. If Jang Haeyoung was an excellent mediator, Aileen was an experienced schemer. She might not be in the lying down dragon grade, but she pointed out something that a revolutionary should be suspicious about. I know. In fact, her advice was pointed to a verse of the revolutionary game that appeared in Ways of Survival. It is important to gather the same side. But the most important thing is finding out the identity of the enemy. It wasn't easy to distinguish between who was an enemy and who was a friend. Most revolutionaries failed and self-destructed because they couldn't break through this point. The pub owner received my gaze and smiled bitterly. Do you perhaps doubt me? Do you think I am a snitch for the Duke? I laughed without saying a word. I already knew that the pub owner was a guardian. Thus, this gesture was for the people other than me. Shall we start with the introductions first? I am Mark. How about you? I am Yoo Jong-hyuk. Yoo Jong-hyuk? HRMM. It sounds like a name I've heard before. It was because the Earth scenarios were spreading. Therefore, there might be a person who remembered the name Yoo Jong-hyuk in the demon world. I could use this hand if necessary. There were also a few story fragments that I had obtained. Well, let's go to the point. I'm not the Duke's snitch. It is hard to believe, but I'm being honest. No, I believe you. You believe me? Yes. You are really the guardian. Mark stared at me like I was a fool. I don't know what happened, but I guess I passed the test. That's right. Congratulations on entering the Revolutionary Army. The aghast Aileen shouted at the sudden conclusion. No, wait a minute. This person came right after I made the revolutionary declaration. The Duke's snitch wouldn't have responded this quickly. The least revolutionary scenario was 30 years ago. Aileen paused at my quick clarification before she continued. It isn't wrong, but I don't think this is enough evidence. I do. I am sure that this person is the guardian. How? Just as I am sure that you are an engineer of Lindbergh. How could you? I also know that Aslan over there is really Jang Haeyoung and that he is from Earth. Hey. Privacy. Eileen's expression changed once she saw Jang Haeyoung's reaction. Can you see the attribute information? As much as necessary. In fact, I had already checked Mark's attribute information. Aileen didn't understand, but she was finally convinced. You have an unusual skill. Until now, there wasn't a skill that could give a glimpse of the position information. My skill is special. I'm glad you have such a skill. Still, the situation is very hopeless. It should be very hopeful. Aileen sighed with half-hearted resignation and said, with this, the fake revolutionary army is formed. Fake revolutionary army? What does that mean? That reminded me, my situation was a bit complicated. I should first give an explanation. The people here were those I needed to take to the end of this scenario. I took some time to persuasively explain that I wasn't a real revolutionary, but a person who could make the revolution a success. What? You're not a revolutionary? Two people screamed before my words were over. Thinking back, I never got a good evaluation every time I announced a project at the company. Mark, who exhausted his points because of me, completely lost his soul. Crazy. A fake revolutionary, a poor guardian, the chairman of the civil council, and a frivolous little boy. Is this a joke? Frivolous little boy? Hey, you are talking too much, Mark. Stop fighting. The situation is like this, so we should worry about what we will do next. Mr. Fake Revolutionary, do you have a plan? I have a few things to prepare. I briefly explained my plan to the group. The haggard-looking people became more serious as I talked. By the end of the story, Mark, who joined the fake revolutionary army, opened his mouth. Certainly, those are the measures we need now. Are you going to participate? I don't have a choice. What will you do first? I have to change my face. I pulled out the story fragment face of a Casanova who died from sexual relations. Mark seemed puzzled. Face? That wasn't in the plan. The most important things in the world aren't included in a plan. Why your face? Shouldn't I be handsome to be a revolutionary? Let's see a few hands. At the same time, Earl Salak and Han were walking down the streets. Salak walked through the streets and glanced at Han. Hey Han. What? Salak wasn't satisfied with this answer, but the other person was in contact with Asmodeus. Since Han was willingly joining him, becoming closer wasn't bad. I think you originally weren't a demon. Can I ask where you came from? Surprisingly, Han gave an answer. A place called Earth. Earth. Ah, I've heard that name before. I guess. The planet is famous these days. Since you got Asmodeus' attention, you must have considerable skill? Considerable skill? Salak was a bit amazed by the pride that emerged on Han's face. Was he making this face because he was such a great person? What were you originally? A sword master? Or a great magician? It is similar. What is it? I was the department head of a large company. A large company? What is that? You don't know it? Han thought for a moment. If I had to give an explanation, it is a group similar to a nebula. A nebula? I am just giving an analogy. Then you were a constellation? No, but it is a similar analogy. Then, you are amazing. Salak didn't understand the words company or department head, but he was forced to feel surprised at Han's explanation. It felt like he slightly understood how Han made contact with Asmodeus. What is that? At the gateway between the nobles section and the civilians section, a huge barricade was being built. It was obviously an iron gate. Salak shouted in an annoying voice. Hey, what are you doing right now? A citizen working on the barricade replied, a noble. I asked what you were doing. Can't you tell just by looking? We are blocking the way. Salak was a bit startled by the shameless voice. Who made you do this? This is the chairman's orders. For the moment, nobles can't enter among the citizens. What bullshit. What right? Get rid of those barricades now. Otherwise, I will immediately throw the two of you into the dump. The citizens flinched and retreated at his ferocious growl. Then another voice was heard from behind the citizens. If you are confident, then try it. The citizen who spoke was different from the other citizens. The unknown citizen released a powerful force from his body. Salak became tense and retreated. Most citizens were weaker than nobles. However, that didn't apply to all citizens. There were the mysterious dimensional movers, and some of them were as strong as the demon nobles. You are doing this just because there is a revolutionary? Do you think we can't kill him? The reason why the citizens never stood up against the nobles was due to fear of the execution at night. However, things started changing from last night. You didn't kill him yesterday. The citizens muttered as they gazed at each other. Salak was furious, but he couldn't cross the barricade. He was alone and had no way to deal with so many citizens. At this time, Han asked, "Are those guys holding a strike?" Strike? They are talking about doing what they're not supposed to do. Salak understood what Han was saying and nodded. It is a similar situation. I see. Leave it to me. I am a professional at dealing with this. A different type of wickedness emerged on Han's face. This happens when the workers don't know who they are going against. For starters, you have to implant some fear. Aileen helped me with the story fragment that I absorbed through Lamar Kiran. However, the molding of the face wasn't as easy as I thought. The face of a Casanova. who died from sexual relations, didn't rest safely on my face until it was evening. I looked in the mirror and smiled with satisfaction. Kim Dokja thought, "It isn't better than you Jonghyuk, but isn't this decent?" Then Aileen finished the procedure and muttered, "It seems a bit better." Well, I don't know. Why is the impression so fuzzy? I guess it was fine. My nose was slightly higher and my cheeks more taut. The anxious Aileen asked me, "By the way, is it okay to be this carefree? Soon it will be the second night. The executioner will come again. It will be fine tonight. The guardian can't protect you indefinitely. Don't you know?" I know. I would prefer not to use the guardian's points if possible, but now there was no other way. I had to overcome the second night with the guardian's help. The third night was when I could try a new method. Surely Mark won't become the target, right? A guardian can't protect their own life, don't worry. No one other than us knows that he is the guardian. The Duke would still be caught off guard. He didn't think the revolution would succeed. We had to use this chance well. "Aileen! Night is coming!" Jang Haeng yelled from outside, and I went out with Aileen. I had to be the target to avoid unnecessary disturbances. The revolutionary. People remembered my outfit and cheered. I felt a bit sad that no one realized I had changed my face. The second night has arrived. I looked around the street. Mark was hiding somewhere in advance and preparing to protect me. "You are currently under the protection of the guardian." The creepy flute sounds were heard and the executioners appeared one by one. They emerged as expected. "Who is the revolutionary?" "It is me. You can't kill me yet, you gathered here anyway." The executioners looked at each other. "You are the revolutionary." Then they said, "But." At this moment, I felt suspicious. Wait, this? It wasn't possible. They already thought of this strategy? The one who YLLDE. The executioners aimed their scythes at different targets. Not the revolutionary. One of the nearby executioners' scythe aimed for Jang Haeng's neck.